Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
Hi, I'm Alex Maynard.
I'm Will Lastly.
And we are the Blood Brothers.
No relation.
Today we're talking about Wrong Turn.
Yes, we are.
I need another drink. This is gonna be bad.
You know, with Wrong Turn, it's like
you might turn into a drinker after talking about this god-awful franchise.
I might. You know, it's interesting because there's one that's really good. There's two that are fairly solid, and then the rest are just awful. I mean, the rest are just fucking awful.
And you guys want to know how awful it is? We're talking worse than Leatherface 2017 awful. It's that bad.
Yeah.
There are 7 films somehow in this franchise. Every single one of them.
They were cheap to make.
Every single one of them after part 1 is a straight to DVD release.
Except for
the remake.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. It's just not good.
It's just not. It's like...
I think it started off pretty decent.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the further along these movies went... I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, Wrong Turn is about a incest cannibal family. And lives in the backwoods of Virginia. So, thanks, Wrong Turn, for never letting me want to go to Virginia. Like there's ever a reason to go anyway. But... as the movies progress, in the first one, they have slight, like, yes, you can tell that they very much look different, but they still look human.
Yeah. And
as the series progressed, they just looked more and more monster-like, less human.
Right.
And they just looked worse and worse. Like, if there were anything that they should have gotten right, it's the look of your villains.
Yeah. And I think with 2, they didn't look nearly as human, but I think it still worked because at least they were fun.
Yes,
like there was still
I can give you that.
There was still a sense of, still a sense of, you know, there was still entertainment value in the lunacy.
If Henry Rollins is having a good time, I can have a good time.
Yeah.
But... let's just dive right into this and get this over with. I need one more drink before this.
All right.
Oh, God. This franchise sucks.
All right. Well, since you're already in a festive mood, why don't you get us started?
Appreciate it. Number 7. Wrong Turn, Part 6. The Last Resort.
Get it? Because it takes place at a resort.
It really doesn't, though.
Right.
It's in a hotel.
That's what I mean.
If anything, it's Wrong Turn, Hotel, find your room number. Or whatever other slogan you want to throw.
Your room number is up.
I don't know how this didn't kill the franchise. I mean, it did until the remake. It did. But there's a reason why they did a remake after this. It's so bad. This is the worst that our 3 incest cannibals look. And just... the acting is bad. The characters are bad. They're all... the kills are even bad.
You hate everyone.
You hate everybody. There's not one likable person in this entire movie.
And, like, if the movie had more of a sense of humor...
if it didn't take itself so seriously... like, and honestly, that's
some of this could have worked if it had a sense of humor.
That's the thing with this franchise. If they would have taken a more Evil Dead approach... and maybe adding more humor... It could have been fine.
Which I think is what saved 2 a little bit. Was there was definitely a sense that there was a sense of sort of, you know, giggling, you know, sort of ghoulish lunacy to it.
We know what we are, and we're gonna have fun.
Yeah.
And as long as, you know, you have fun, we can all be entertained. But it takes itself the 4, 5, and 6 take themselves so seriously, and they're just so mean spirited.
Yeah.
It's almost
5
like
and 6 especially.
it's almost like shame on you for putting this in and watching, even though we're the scums who made it.
I think it's what a lot of horror snobs think that Eli Roth makes. Whereas his stuff there's usually a sense of humor to it.
It doesn't help it doesn't help the slasher genre or the horror genre at all, because it's just a gore and sex fest. It's especially this part 6, and
it's what grandmas have been complaining all horror is.
Yes,
for decades.
And I would dare say the first 3 movies, it wasn't necessarily about torture. And then 4, 5, and 6 really ramp up the torture. It's almost like they saw Saw 3 too many times.
Yeah.
And part 6 especially, I mean, they kill someone by shoving a hose up his ass and literally blowing him up like a balloon till he burst.
Right. Which, again, if the movie had a sense of humor, that would have been fucking brilliant.
It would have been if they were trying to make it funny, but they weren't.
Right.
And it's just...
There's a movie called Stitches that does a very similar kill.
Yes.
And Stitches is very much a horror comedy through and through. And in that movie, it's awesome. Where it's with a balloon pump. Or hell, in Big Trouble in Little China. Like, something like that. You could have made this a franchise highlight if you had any self-awareness.
But they don't.
They really don't.
And on top of that, these guys are supposed to be cannibals. How are you going to eat anything after that, quite frankly?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just... What, are you trying to make a slushy?
I was
don't
about to
want
say.
to think about it, really.
I was going to say.
And I guess I got to actually talk more about this movie. Our lead character gets an invite, basically, to come to this hotel, because turns out he's a part of the cannibal family. Yeah. He doesn't know they're cannibals yet.
It's Texas Chainsaw 3D, but worse.
Oh, so much worse.
Like, that one at least had, for one, that fantastic opening scene.
There's nothing fantastic about this movie.
No, this movie doesn't have anything good.
And that means a lot coming from you.
Yeah.
Because you always try to find at least one redeemable thing about this movie, and I honestly don't think this has one.
No, it really doesn't.
I would say if there's one redeemable thing about this movie, I don't know her name, I don't know the character's name, because the movie sucks. The female who our lead character is supposed to make babies with, basically.
Yeah.
The female antagonist.
Yeah.
I think she does enough.
She's fine.
She works well with what she's got.
Yeah.
But it's not like a huge saving grace, but no. I'm willing to give her that she went all in with her performance.
She was the car scene of Texas Chainsaw Next Generation of this movie.
There we go.
Where it's like there's that slight glimmer of it could be worse, but it's the only thing that could be worse.
Yeah, so our lead character, who's a guy, he turns out lost family members, whatever, invite him to the hotel and be like, hey, you're going to take over the family business. And basically, they're trying to get him to sleep with the female antagonist, because since they're related, they got to make more incest cannibals. And they have this big scene later where they drug him, and they end up having sex.
It's like this orgy.
It's not even an orgy. It's literally these two having sex and everyone else watching.
Oh, yeah, it's like in Midsommar.
Yeah, except way worse.
Yeah.
And, he keeps thinking it's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then somehow at the end of the movie he realizes it's not. But this movie sucks.
Yeah.
But
Midsommar did this way better.
Everything did this way better.
Yeah. It's
the thing that I don't understand, probably I don't want to,
yeah,
is turns out there's a whole there's like basically a whole community of these incest people, and yet
they're called the royal family.
And yet somehow only 3 of them end up looking deformed.
Right.
How the hell does that work?
Because they were in the previous movies. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Hellraiser sequel situation.
Oh my god.
That wouldn't surprise me if this was like they made this into a Wrong Turn movie. I wouldn't be surprised. That wouldn't save any of it.
Doug Bradley wasn't in this one. We'll get to it. I hate this franchise. But, you know, him and all the lead character and all of his stupid friends show up, and of course our incest cannibals start killing them off one by one.
Just because they were in the first movie, or the first movies, I guess.
Because this is supposed to be a third prequel.
Yeah, there's like this prequel trilogy that 4, 5, and 6.
Yes, it's an entire prequel trilogy, and really number 6, at least 4 and 5 are somewhat tied to each other. Yeah. And 6 feels like its own thing. Because where did this entire incest community go before part 1? I really don't want to know. Don't give me a part 7 of this crap, please.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask these questions. Oh, it makes my brain hurt.
Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to.
But the kills are not great. I mean, one of the characters dies by being suffocated with a pillow by the female antagonist, who's basically riding his face.
And, is, getting off. She, gets off on every kill.
Yes, she does. She is super sexual. This movie is basically softcore porn, and it's a softcore porn gore fest.
Yeah.
Is what this movie is. I mean, they literally have a sex chamber.
But there's nothing scary or sexy about it.
No.
It's all just uncomfortable. And not even, a good kind of uncomfortable, like the way Midsommar was. That movie was, really uncomfortable, but because it was doing such a good job.
I wouldn't even say you feel dirty watching it. It's just
you feel numb watching it.
Yeah, just why?
Yeah.
Why am I sitting through this?
It's a whole lot of why.
And of course, the movie ends with you don't even need to know the plot of this movie. Don't torture yourselves by sitting through this. We're gonna skip right to the end because basically, cannibals kill everybody. One of the more normal-looking incest cannibals gets killed by the lead female good guy, who is the lead guy's girlfriend, and he's all, you killed my family.
Again, it's Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Right, and he basically turns to the dark side because plot convenience.
Because family is forever.
Don't put Vin Diesel in this. I don't like Vin Diesel, but don't do this to him. And he basically gives the cannibals the okay to kill his girlfriend, and the movie ends with him basically screwing his deformed-looking cousin now because she gets beat up pretty bad, and she's all, I'm so happy, and the movie literally ends with those two having sex and the 3 main cannibals watching in weird discount Jedi robes.
Yeah,
it's bad.
It's a mystery just what this movie was supposed to be. Even
how many drugs were these people taking when they made this?
Enough to think that their sister is their girlfriend, apparently.
Yeah. It's... Moving on. There's a reason why it needed a reboot after this.
Yeah.
My number 6 is... I struggled with this one, actually. My number 6 is part 4.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, to me, this was... really number 3 was bad, but it wasn't, I can't really watch.
Yeah.
I can at least sit through it and be, well, at least they're trying something.
Right.
Part 4, they tried to do something different, I'll give it that, by putting them in a resort. Well, actually, an asylum.
This is a mental hospital.
That has been in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
So our good guys can't go anywhere, basically. I
say
it's good guys loosely, by the way.
So it's just like The Thing.
Get out of my house. This is the first prequel. You see them as kids, and honestly, I would have rather had a movie of that.
Yeah.
You find out why they each have their own dumb nicknames. Their 3 names are One Eye, Sawtooth, and Three Finger. And you find out basically why they are impervious to pain and all that stuff. But
this is the first time they said that they didn't feel pain.
True. So it was nice to actually get that.
Yeah.
But I'll give it this: the opening scene of them being smart.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about 5 and 6, they make them so dumb.
Yeah.
And
they're
even in the first movie, they show that they're intelligent.
Yeah, because the first 3, they're setting up traps, and they are skilled hunters.
Exactly, and even part 4, in the beginning of part 4 anyway, it shows that they're intelligent because they use a bobby pin to unlock their prison cell. And I will say, the opening scene of all these insane prisoners just running roughshod over the hospital staff is a good scene until they use the electrical therapy to kill the woman.
Yeah, the electric shock.
To me, that was just, okay, now all of a sudden they like torture, even though that was never established in the first 3 films.
Now wait, was it them doing that, or was it just other maniacs?
No, it was those 3.
Okay.
Because it was the 3 who kill her, and then the main doctor who kind of already showed he was a dick.
Right.
I believe they just wrapped his whole body in barbed wire,
and then
strung him up and let him bleed out.
No, because didn't they have him pulled apart?
You're right.
Yeah.
It's just. And then the rest of the movie, unfortunately, had to happen.
Yeah.
Our blandless characters, good guys. This movie tries to have some LGBTQ representation,
but it's the worst kind.
It's the worst kind. It's straight up, we're lesbians and we're super hot and into each other and we're gonna do it all the time.
It never felt like, hey, we wrote 2 gay characters.
Their characters are the fact that they're gay.
Yeah,
that's
and even then, it's not even like.
But really, and one of them gets killed pretty early on, and another one almost makes it to the end.
Yeah, it's really not even that their personality is being gay, because it's really just the fact that look, it's 2 chicks doing it. And isn't that hot?
That was the selling point of the movie.
That was the only reason they had gay characters.
I feel like that's the only reason why this movie got made.
For the sake of titillation.
Well, Wrong Turn 3 was bad. I don't really know if we want to do a prequel movie. We have lesbians and they have sex.
Yeah.
I'm sold. How much money do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it feels. And you feel gross watching it because it just feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not in the good, scary way.
Right.
And we also have a discount early wannabe Ryan Gosling with his white t-shirt and hair slicked back thinking he's trying to be cool. I will say his kill
I was just waiting for him to start singing Grease Lightning.
I will say his death in the movie is probably the one decent scene outside of the opening shot. And that's he gets killed by they basically tie him down and they start fondueing him alive.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty scary. And we haven't really seen a cannibal horror to go that route.
Yeah.
So that was unique.
Yeah.
But what took away from it is that his friends are literally on the other side of the door trying to come up with a plan to save him rather than actually saving him. So it takes away from the moment.
Yeah, it's like if you had Hostel and Scooby-Doo happening simultaneously.
Oh my god.
Which, that sounds way more entertaining than this movie is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. And they somehow managed to trap the cannibals in a cell.
Yeah.
And there's one, I think there's maybe one guy who's, well, let's kill them. And then our lead lady's, no, we can't be like them. How many of your friends have to die extreme torturous ways to be, okay, these 3 clearly have no redeemable qualities. Let's just, do what we need to do.
And, this isn't the movie to try to tackle something like that.
No, it's not.
Do that,
Again, if they would have some humor and self-awareness of just knowing how much of a B movie you are, I could tolerate it. And then the fact that everybody listens to her.
Yeah, and again, it's important that we have movies that have something like that in them. Now wait, these are people. Don't stoop to that. But this isn't the movie to do that. This is a wrong turn movie, and this is a late in the game, direct to video wrong turn movie. I mean, shut the fuck up and kill him. Like, it's. But we know they won't. We know they can't because it's a prequel.
Because it's a prequel, and it's a wrong turn prequel. That's we already know everyone's going to die. Let's just get it over with and get to it.
Or at the very least, we know that the villains aren't.
Right? Or at least make it seem where they were defeated, or that the good guys got to. Again, I use good guys very loosely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just let us know that they got away at least, but they don't kill them, and of course they break out with the whole bobby pin thing. Apparently they kept that on them throughout all these years, thinking maybe one day someone's going to outsmart us.
Yeah.
And one of the characters also left to ski or ski down to get help, but they froze to death.
Yeah.
I think they forgot about that character because they do a quick shot near the end of, oh crap, that's right, she died.
Which that was a little funny. I don't think it was meant to be, but that was a little funny to me.
It wasn't meant to be, but it was.
That was a little funny to me.
And, all the characters are basically trapped in the snow. They all get killed one by one.
Yeah.
I know the one death you like is they use like the snowmobile.
Is at the very end.
And all the blood shoots out? Or are you talking about the decapitation?
The decapitation at the very end.
Okay. Yeah, because that blood thing was awful.
It was, yeah.
Two of our characters look like they're getting away. One of them was one of the gay girls who was also black. So there was that. And then the straight white girl who, didn't want to kill them.
Right.
Hate this franchise, Will.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're getting away. They didn't kill them, but they were able to get a snowmobile, and it looks like they're getting away. And you just hear, "Oh no!" And then they get their heads decapitated off by a wire that they had set up.
Yeah.
In case anyone, were to almost get away. Which, just, why didn't you duck?
Well, I think the whole point was that you could barely see it from a distance until it was too late.
Okay, fair, but why didn't you duck? Why wasn't one of you looking and paying attention? Why am I asking these questions? This movie sucks. And I know I've been trying really hard to stop saying this movie sucks, but I can't help it. This franchise is garbage.
With a franchise like this, for, several of them, all you can really say is this movie sucks.
And that's being generous, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Moving on, my number 5... Or wait, is it number 5? Yeah, yes. 7-6. My number 5 is part 5.
Yeah.
The only reason this wasn't put at my number 6 is just for the fact that it had Doug Bradley.
Yeah.
And he just steals all the scenes he's in, even if it doesn't make sense.
And he's doing a decent job. I mean, it's not like he's just like, just give me my fucking paycheck and let me leave. Like,
that's true. He does try it. He does do his best. And the thing I don't understand about Doug Bradley, you didn't want to do any more Hellraiser movies, but you wanted to do Wrong Turn Part 5. How much money did they pay you to make that okay? I want to know. I would rather do Hellraiser Revelations than a Wrong Turn Part 5.
Oh, really?
Come on. Hellraiser Revelations. It's bad, but it's not Wrong Turn bad. Discussion for another time. I have an idea for a video I want to run by.
I would say the gore in this one is a little better than it is in Revelation, but that's like literally the only thing, and the fact that it actually has
this is the most mean-spirited Wrong Turn movie.
It is.
With Part 6, it's just sex and blood.
Yeah. And like too much of both without ever being entertaining.
Precisely.
Like, it's not entertaining excess.
Part 4, there's at least like a story, very bad story, but a story nonetheless. Part 5,
it's just cruelty.
It is, and one of the worst scenes in this for me is one of the teenage girls gets killed by the lead cannibal.
Oh, this was just...
He stabs her in the stomach and like rips her guts out, basically, where her guts are dropping on the floor. She drops to her knees. They play this over dramatic, sad music.
Yeah.
Which I was fine with up to this point.
Yeah. Then he starts...
He kneels down next to her and starts feeding her
trying to stuff the intestines in her mouth.
Yeah, feeding her own guts.
Like...
Why? Again, we're going down a torturous route that we didn't need to go down.
Again, this could be the kind of thing that if it were in a horror comedy...
Right, if it was comedy, a horror comedy, this would totally work.
Yeah, like, you could take this scene and start playing Fruit Salad by the Wiggles, and it would be the funniest fucking thing in the world.
Oh, I wish we could find a way to find that clip and dub that in.
We need to. I need to do that.
It's just... But they don't. They make you... It's just cruel instead of any kind of self-aware humor at all.
Yeah.
And
or just the whole scene and then just... Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Or just that whole scene, we have the meats.
That's really the tag of this franchise.
That was fucked up. We have the meats.
But it's just... It's awful. It's bad. And the look of the cannibals in this movie is terrible.
It's just very cheap.
Especially on the lead.
On Three Finger?
Yeah. Sawtooth.
Oh, yeah, I guess
on Sawtooth. Because he's got like this weird gray puffy afro thing going on, but a bald spot.
Yeah.
And it's just, aren't they supposed to be young? Why does he have gray hair? I mean, in the first one, he barely has hair, but at least it's colored.
Yeah.
Whatever. And of course, there's a scene where two guys are basically tied or basically buried underground with the exception of their head, and Sawtooth runs over them with the forklift.
That's another thing that I'm like, if this movie had a sense of humor.
But again, it doesn't, and it's just being cruel for the sake of being cruel.
Like, you could take that scene and have Old MacDonald playing in the background.
Oh my god.
Like, if he's got like... Because what is it he's riding again? Is it like a riding mower or something like that?
I'd have to...
or something like that. Or like
I'd have to go back and watch the movie, and I'm not going to.
Like, if you had that playing and like Old MacDonald or something like that, and it was a horror comedy...
Right before he runs over the guy's head, and a moo-moo here...
Yeah.
Would have worked. Or a scream here.
Yeah. E-I-E-I...
Oh!
Yeah.
Look, we're already doing this better than the actual movie.
Because we, for one, I think we know how jokes work. But like, also, I mean, we've seen enough...
Too bad Wrong Turn didn't realize it was the joke.
Yeah. We also have seen enough good horror movies that we can go, here's what would have worked. And here's why this really didn't.
It's, and now I gotta talk about Doug Bradley.
The poor guy.
So, the three cannibals, with the exception of Sawtooth, the other two do look fairly young. But they...
Who the hell is Doug Bradley supposed to be?
He is,
People have theorized.
No, it is, because he has the same name.
Does?
Uh-huh. Which, unfortunately for me, it's my fucking last name.
Oh.
Doug Bradley plays a guy named Maynard. I hate you. And Maynard is a character in the first two films. He's in the very first one, has the Pepto-drinking hillbilly.
Isn't he just called, like, the old man in
I think
stuff?
in the first one, yes. In the second one, I believe he gets the name Maynard, at least in the credits.
Let me see.
If not, they have at least tied in, Part 5 tied in that he is supposed to be that guy.
Yeah, he's just old-timer in...
Part 1?
In Part 1, and then old man in... Or no, he's old man in Part 1, and then old-timer in Part 2.
Okay, well, I know in Part 5 they do name him Maynard. I really wish they changed his name. And they say he's supposed to be him.
They do?
Mm-hmm. Which, how do you go from Doug Bradley to that? No offense to that actor. But how do you go from Doug Bradley to that and then span of view, but I guess
Right.
eating people does that to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Doug Bradley, at the beginning of the movie, the cannibals kill this reporter. She literally gives them the finger, and they cut off her middle finger, and they cut off the hand, and the hand's on the ground. They do the whole wrong turn 5 with the hand being the the Roman numeral for 5.
Yeah.
And,
which I normally like stuff like that, but it just
I will
didn't
say
work.
the scene did get a chuckle out of me because apparently they are really dumb. Because Doug Bradley's just you don't leave shit behind.
Yeah.
Give me a hand, and one of them literally picks up the reporter's hand and goes, "Not that fucking hand."
Yeah.
Literally the only chuckle this movie got
only
out
because
of me.
Doug Bradley delivered it so well. Just he was so done. Like it was.
And this movie, I think 4, 5, and 6 were all directed by the same guy, or was it 3, 4, and 5?
3, 4, and 5.
Okay, because in 5 he mentions the asylum in the snow.
Yeah.
And he tells them they can't be dumb and they need to be smart. Don't leave anything behind. Don't do anything too big. And what does this guy do? The exact opposite of everything he says not to do. He literally lays in the middle of the road, waits for our bland teenagers.
Well, he does the exact opposite of what he says to do.
Yeah.
Not what. Yeah,
my bad. Everything he tells them not to do, he does.
Yeah.
He lays in the middle of the road. Our bland teenage characters find him. They check on him for help, and he immediately slices one of them.
Yeah.
Gives him a little cut, and they subdue him. And cops come and arrest all of them.
Yeah.
And it's just, and of course the cannibals are watching, like, oh no! And it's just,
and of course it's all a ruse, isn't it?
no, it's not.
It wasn't. Okay, I was thinking it was
Doug Bradley's
intentional.
character did not mean to get arrested. It just happened.
Okay, I was thinking that it would. I only watched it the one time.
He's not smart like he thinks he is.
Right.
He's just being played by Doug Bradley.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like one of those situations where it was like he was trying to get in the prison to do.
No, he had no intention of going to prison. And one of the cops who stays behind at the crime scene gets killed. They literally cut off his ear and eat it in front of him.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And they don't even play Stuck in the Middle with you. Because that would be a good movie.
It is. We have Reservoir Dogs.
That's what I'm saying. Is that was the joke I was making? Is because that's in a good movie. That's.
If only.
Yeah.
But they go to the prison, and Doug Bradley the whole time is just, if you let me out, you all might live. But if you don't let me out, you're all gonna die.
Yeah.
But of course, they hold him prisoner, and of course, they all die.
Yeah.
And the town's also doing this weird festival thing where they dress up in costumes so the hillbilly cannibals don't look outside the norm right now.
Which is very convenient.
Very convenient. And Doug Bradley ties up the sheriff to a bomb and sets a fire behind her to basically she has to burn to death or make herself blow up.
Yeah.
And before that, Doug Bradley cuts out this girl's eyes.
Yeah.
And the end of the movie, which is the most mean-spirited, cruel ending I've ever seen.
It was such a fuck you ending.
It really was. Doug Bradley and the cannibals are driving down the road. They see her wandering down the road because he cut out her eyes and let her go.
Yeah.
And he told her before she even let him out of the cell, because she let him out.
Yeah.
That he was going to cut her eyes out, and basically him and the cannibals were going to rape her.
If he didn't, what wasn't it? If
or if you don't let me out, I'm going to rape you.
Yeah.
But they find her wandering down the road. The lead cannibal gets out.
No, because then afterwards, because he says he'll do that if she does let him out. And she lets him out, and he says like I lied or something, and then does it.
Or he has this stupid line of, you know what I was saying about he was have some vision.
Yeah.
You know what I was saying about vision? Terrible close up.
Yeah.
But she's walking down the road. Yeah. Sawtooth gets out of the truck. Guys are back to the truck. She thinks she's safe.
Yeah.
And then Doug Bradley talks to her. And the movie ends with her looking out the back of the truck window.
Well, looking at.
Her face is.
She's
in that
like
direction.
banging on the glass. Yeah.
And they drive down the road,
screaming. Yeah.
And it's just.
I'm like, look, I like nihilistic horror.
I like bleak endings.
I do too. I mean, it's
when it's earned,
right? Because I mean, like okay, the ending of House of a Thousand Corpses. It ends almost the same way.
Yeah.
As this, but with House of a Thousand Corpses, first of all, the movie had a sense of fun to it. And it wasn't just.
I'm not such a big fan of House of a Thousand Corpses.
Sure.
But it did its ending right.
Right.
And way better than this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that I tend to like Rob Zombie stuff a little bit more than you do.
Yes.
But like even with that movie, it was the kind of movie that felt like it earned an ending like that because the whole movie was just like the whole movie was so unpredictable. At least in what was like the events that were going to happen.
At that point, we didn't even know Captain Spaulding was a part of this whole thing.
Yeah. And then it made perfect sense when you found out he was, because he's a fucking creepy clown. But it's like with that movie, it's like that's the kind of movie that would do something like that. And these are the kinds of
I can't, man. Especially talking about 6, 4, and 5.
Yeah, and we've established that like Baby Firefly and Otis Driftwood, like these guys are jokesters. and Captain Spaulding, like these guys, these are the kind of people that would like.
They have their own twisted fun, so in a strange way, you don't take it as seriously.
Yeah, pulling a very mean, like fatal prank on someone makes perfect sense for these people, as opposed to just let's see how cruel we can be to these people.
And that's exactly what Part 5 was. And
right.
It's just the only reason why it's not my number 6 is because Doug Bradley is in it, and Doug Bradley does a good job. He does a good job acting, which there is none of in 6 and 7, outside of the weird girl. But even hers wasn't all.
You mean
that
5
great.
and 6?
Yeah, 5 and 6. My bad. Oh, I meant 4 and 6.
Yeah.
Because 4 didn't have any good acting.
Yeah.
Oh no! Worst dubbing ever.
I've seen way worse.
I bet. Okay. So,
but I'm also a bad movie aficionado. Like I love laughing at bad movies.
Okay.
So, but this wasn't.
You can't laugh at it.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, but these aren't fun bad.
Yeah, these are just.
I just mean like I've seen movies that are technically worse movies, but that are more entertaining.
All right. So moving on, my number 4 is Part 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't even remember the subtitle that Part 5 had. Because I think
Bad Blood.
I think Wrong Turn 4 was like the beginning or something like that.
Yeah. Wrong Turn 5 was Bad Blood.
Because the blood effects were bad.
Well, there's 4 was Bloody Beginnings.
Bloody Beginnings. There
Because
we
of
go.
course it was, and 3 was Left 4 Dead.
Yes. 3.
Because the franchise was just Left 4 Dead after Part 2.
And Left 4 Dead, quite frankly, is a good zombie video game for the Xbox series.
Brought to you by Left 4 Dead.
I'm honestly surprised they didn't try to save Left 4 Dead for Part 4, but let's be honest, it really was Left 4 Dead. They didn't know they'd get a Part 4.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking, what, like... Yeah.
So, Part 3, Left 4 Dead, is... It's basically the end of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Because you only have Sawtooth and the fucked up baby at the end of number 2.
Right.
And they're the only 2 left. And they're both guys, so they can't reproduce. Thank God. Oh, thank God. But it's basically a prison transfer gone bad.
Yeah.
And you have the prisoners and prisoners and cops.
Yeah.
Cops and robbers.
Yeah.
Basically fending their lives and having to work together even though they don't want to fend off the one remaining cannibal. And it's not nearly as bad as 4, 5, and 6. I'll give it that, but it's not by much. They're at least sticking to a plot.
Right. Yeah.
The effects are bad. The acting is bad. The blood is bad.
The dialogue is
is horrendous.
I mean, just like it feels like a middle schooler tried to write Superbad or something like that. But not even like a middle school Seth Rogen who's funny. Like this feels like just your average middle schooler was like, yeah, this'll be hot and funny at the same time. I'm like, it's neither.
This is the appropriate time to say fuck.
Right.
No.
Yeah. What if but what if they said fuck? This movie like this is the movie that like Rob Zombie would be like, now why'd you put fuck there?
Somehow they either discover or it's already been discussed that there is basically treasure or a lot of money basically that's that they can find and take.
I forget how and where that's I think maybe one of them buried it like years ago or something.
Yes, I think something like that. And the whole point of escaping on the road right then and there was to go obviously escape prison and then get the money.
Right.
And that's basically the movie, with the exception of there's a two killer cannibals on the loose.
Yeah.
And the kills in this movie are actually not all that bad.
They're not awful. They're
not great.
Yeah.
They're almost good.
Yeah. Some of them are almost good. Because there are some where it's like that are part CG, part practical, and the CG parts look so bad, but the practical looks halfway decent.
Yeah.
And so you almost
I think the one that was done practically that I really liked was, this is the one, where a guy gets wrapped in barbed wire and Sawtooth is driving the truck while he's hanging in the barbed wire and he's basically just bleeding out. Yeah. And if there was one time for the over-the-top violence to be, it would be in part 3. Yeah. Because Sawtooth has lost his whole family at this point.
Right.
So
Three Finger.
No, Sawtooth. Three Finger is the one who shoots the bow and arrow.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking...
I can't believe I know this.
Sorry, I was just mixing it because I was thinking Sawtooth died in part 2.
Mm-mm. It looked like he did, but then he showed up at the end to feed the baby the bottle of blood.
That's right.
Yes, because Henry Rollins kicked his ass.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. But part 3, there's one prisoner who claims to be innocent, and he appears to be innocent. Yeah. But they all go along with the lead prisoner's plan because the lead prisoner is basically holding all of them hostage and forcing them to do whatever he wants, which at this point, why are you doing that when you know you're being hunted?
Also, you can all overpower him.
Exactly, and they don't because movie's got a movie. Our lead character is basically a young cop who's trying to already retire. Yeah. I'll explain why. I mean, that'll come to effect later.
Well, and then there's the undercover guy.
Oh, yeah. But basically, Sawtooth shows up. They all start dying. They capture the younger one, who's clearly a kid. Yeah. And, of course, there's a female character who's in the woods on the run from these two already. Yeah. Who's all, well, maybe we shouldn't kill him. He's just a child. See his face? And he literally just, tortured one of them to death. So, I'm sorry. He kind of has it coming. And thankfully, the prisoner isn't like the dumbass in part 4 and says, no, we're going to kill him. Yeah. And they literally decapitate him and place it on a pike for Sawtooth to find. And you hear him let out this, yell, this shriek, because he's the last one now. Yeah. And I will say, the little showdown fight he has with the lead prisoner. Yeah. For once, I would say the movie earned it. Because it was basically, when is the asshole going to die? Yeah. That's what we're waiting on. And they didn't disappoint. Yeah. And even, Sawtooth almost does, a victory stance over him because it was a fight.
Yeah.
But they end up killing Sawtooth. They shove like a hook through his neck, through his head, and the movie ends with they hear cops coming, and it's the lead cop, or the young cop, or the lead character, the woman who was lost in the woods, and the innocent prisoner.
Yeah.
And the cop looks at him and says, did you really do what you did? No. You can go.
Yeah.
Lets him go. And honestly, the movie could have ended right there, and I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hated it as much. But no.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrong turn, so they got to find a way to ruin it. Granted, it's not that great, but it's at least watchable.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Part 3 is at least watchable until the very end.
Yeah.
And the young cop goes back for the money. And then you see him get shot in the back with the bow and arrow. You see the arrow peering through his chest in one of the worst CGI shots. And he falls down dead. And who shoots him? The prisoner who said he didn't do it. They should have that could have been the cannibal right there to do it. But instead, he goes to get the money, and then you see another cannibal standing in the background, and then you hear it cuts to black, and you hear a scream.
Yeah. And like a splattering. Don't you hear
either a splatter or blood or a body dropping?
Yeah. Something like...
If it would have ended with just, you can go, and then the guy and girl waiting for the cops to arrive, I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been any higher on my list,
No.
but it would have been okay.
Yeah.
It would have went from bad to okay, and then instead it decided, hey, we're wrong turn. We have to be bad.
Yeah, it would have gone from bad to meh.
Yeah. There we go. Bad to meh. But
just watch Con Air. Just watch Con Air if you want to see what this plot would look like, but good.
And a lot of people don't like that movie, and I don't understand why.
I don't either. I know my mom hated it, but
it's fun. It's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Unlike this movie,
right? What?
We already have a better movie and a better video game. That's all you need.
Yeah, we have a better video game with the title and a better movie with the plot.
There we go. At least it tried, and it didn't feel nearly as mean-spirited.
Yeah.
It at least tried to... If anything, I felt Part 3 tried to go back to what Part 1 was.
In an odd way.
In an odd way, while still trying to tie into Part 2.
But it was it was only the weakest things about Part 1.
And the weakest things of Part 2.
Yeah.
Which leads me to my number 3... Wrong Turn 2.
Yeah.
A lot of people have this as their favorite. I don't. And for me, that's just because I get why a sequel happened. Because Sawtooth lives in the post-credit scene at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
But for me, yes, it's fun and it does have some humor. But for me, it's just the fact that they took such a wrong turn. Huh? They took such a wrong turn of how the cannibals looked. Because in Part 1, they still looked human, but clearly they had their deformities, but they looked human and they looked beastly.
Paul looked human in Part 2.
Well, yeah, Paul did look human, but it was so orange.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And that's the thing, they all kind of look human, they just had this weird orange complexion. Like if Trump really did fuck his daughter and had a family.
Right.
In case y'all want to know what I think politically. You can cut that if you want, I don't care.
I don't think it's political to say that a racist sexual predator is not a good person.
Oh man. But they all just look like monsters.
That's fair.
And for me that kind of took me out of it. And with Part 1, yeah, there was gore, but it looked realistic, and part 2 definitely goes way over the top.
Sure.
And while I can respect that to a degree, for me it was just, okay, we're already starting to go downhill because now we know where this franchise is going. We know what it's going to be.
Okay.
And it's not going to get any better.
Okay.
Rather than sticking to any kind of formula. Now, granted, I'll say part 2 is more entertaining and more fun than the first one. But for me, the first one, just the characters felt more real. Okay. And the characters were more relatable and they were better. Okay. And part 2, all these characters are bland, with the exception of Henry Rollins,
right,
who plays this war vet who's hosting a survivalist kind of show called Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's Extreme Survivor.
Basically.
I mean, literally, it's parodying the craze of, like, Survivor and shows like that.
I will say, what I think part 2 does pretty good, it swerves you.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really think about this. It swerves you. Because, we actually get a girl from the real-life American Idol get killed at the very beginning of the movie.
They pull a Psycho.
Well, not that. I'm not talking about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting there. She literally gets axed in half. You see her blood and intestines fall over the place. And for me, that's when I was just, okay, we're going this direction.
Oh, but that effect was so good.
It was good. But, again, I'm not the biggest fan of that.
Okay.
But I can respect it.
Sure.
It's so much better than Saw 3D.
Well, but that's like...
It wasn't pink.
Yeah, I was going to say, but that's like
and
saying...
it's better than the sequels. But they kill her, and then... So they're missing a contestant.
Yeah.
And they have this really, really shy girl who's very modest step into her role. And she's very much final girl material. Mm-hmm. This is where I think the movie swerves you.
Oh, yeah.
Because her and the goth girl, who cuts herself, and that's literally the only important detail about her character.
She's been through some shit, and self-harm was a struggle for her.
She's the emo one. Like, all these characters, they were almost... They almost had layers, but they were only one-dimensional. You have the modest one, you have the emo one, you have the failed athlete, you have the pervert, you have the tomboy, but that's as far as they go.
The vapid bimbo character.
And that's as you have the slut.
Yeah.
And that's as far as character development as we get. Granted, it's a slasher flick and it's Wrong Turn, but at least with part 1 we get more than that, and that's kind of why I have Wrong Turn 2 at my number 3.
Okay.
Anyway,
I see what you're saying.
The modest one and the goth girl find the cannibals, and they bolt it. They start running.
Yeah.
You would think the goth girl dies here, but no. You see, I actually think this is shot really well, too.
Yeah.
You see from one of the camera angles that they have in their earpiece.
Yeah.
Or that they have hanging on their ear.
Yeah.
You see just an axe fly from the side into the head of the modest girl.
Yeah.
And for me, it was just, damn, I thought she was going to be the final girl.
Good.
Can't believe I'm saying this. Good job, Wrong Turn 2. You got me.
Yeah.
And Henry Rollins is so much fun.
Oh, man.
He has a showdown with the old-timer.
Yeah.
Because the old-timer basically admits in this one that he's the dad.
Yeah.
Of all
or sort of the grandpa,
animals.
Because I guess he's Pa's dad.
Yeah, because he's Henry Rollins is just, what the hell are they? Oh, they're men just like me and you, only a lot stronger and uglier.
Yeah.
And Henry Rollins kills him by strapping a bomb to his chest, and he does this weird, huh? And it blows up.
It's almost like... Again, see, this movie has a sense of humor.
It does, and that's why I can enjoy it.
Yeah, because Joe Lynch is a great director, as he also directed Mayhem.
Oh.
If you haven't seen that one, that's a really fun, like, action horror comedy with Stephen Yen
yes.
and Samara Weaving.
From The Babysitter.
Yeah, and Ready or Not.
That is a fun movie.
Ready or Not is a fucking blast. She also had a small part in the movie 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which I cannot recommend enough.
Haven't seen it.
So good. Not a horror movie, but it's absolutely fucking outstanding. But Joe Lynch is a great director and comes from that generation of, again, sort of like Eli Roth, Rob Zombie, Adam Green, these generation, this sort of grindhouse throwback kind of directors, and he knows what he's doing.
I feel like this entire movie is almost paying an homage to the over-the-top 80s horror gore that took over. But it had enough self-awareness humor to not take itself so seriously.
Right.
Why didn't the rest of this franchise learn from this?
Yeah.
Why did we get part 6? Yeah. Don't think about it, Alex. Don't. I'm going to be drunk before this shoot is over.
Just drink and forget. Drink and forget.
Oh, boy. But after Henry Rollins blows him up, he actually has a one-liner. He's just... it gets real close on his face and just... Say hello to the missus for me.
Yeah. Because Henry Rollins can sell corny one-liner. It's like something from an 80s or 90s action movie like Cobra or Commando or... something like that. Something so over the top.
Speaking
and
of Commando, he basically goes full Commando. He does the whole
kind of does
painting his face camouflage, getting himself ready for war.
Yeah.
And
knock knock.
Meanwhile, all the other characters who are useless and bland are getting killed off. 2 things I want to talk about before I get to the near end.
Yeah.
Is the son is watching the slut sunbathe, basically, and he's jerking off.
No, wait, is this Three Finger?
No.
Okay.
It's like literally Paul's son.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, because he has the sister that... Yeah.
And the sister sees him jerking off to her, and she just basically charges out there and kills her.
Because she's jealous? Because apparently they have a thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean... I guess it kind of makes more sense in this movie than
then the monsters start making out, and it fades to black, and you think that's it. And then later, you see 2 of our characters see those 2 having sex, and it's just...
Yeah. But again...
My brain will never, ever unsee that, unfortunately.
Yeah. But again, with this movie, it still feels like there's a sense of like...
It is so over the top that it is hard to take seriously.
It's kind of... I'm trying to think of how to put it. It's almost like the people behind the camera are not pulling a joke on you or something, but it's they're definitely having fun with the audience.
I'll give you that.
You could practically hear them just like giggling with like ghoulish delight from behind the camera. Like it definitely feels
at least with. Unfortunately, having to see that, it's cringy and uncomfortable in not a part 6 way.
Right.
Part 6 it's just
that one's just like
you're numb from it, and at least with this, it's just it's clearly meant to be gross.
Yeah, that one you're just more of a. Why?
Yes, and that's kind of how I reacted to it.
You're not sitting there just dumbfounded. You're getting that appropriate. Why?
Yeah. Which is the filmmakers
again
ghoulishly laughing at its audience. Right. And the other thing I want to talk about was Paul. I almost hate that he dies in this because
Paul's genuinely like
he's terrifying.
Yeah,
he kills one of the cameramen. I think he stabs his hand into the RV, and I think the cameraman tried to punch him or something. But he stabs his hand into the RV, and you just see Paul with the little camera just that was actually creepy.
Played by stuntman Ken Kersinger, who would go on to be Jason in Freddy vs. Jason.
No.
And
pretty sure Freddy vs. Jason came out way before.
Duh, you know what I mean. But just did a whole bunch of just good stunt work.
So fast forward near to the end of the movie, goth girl who has her wrist tied by barbed wire. Get it? because it's the one interesting thing about her character. Sorry. And you have the failed athlete.
Yeah.
They're both basically tied down to a table, and we get a dinner scene.
We do.
And you somewhat get that they tolerate English because, she's all freaking out and screaming, and you just see Paul kind of look up in an annoyance.
Yeah, just like, yeah.
But
again, in this case, the dinner scene felt like this is being made by people who love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It felt like an homage. It didn't feel like a rip-off,
It didn't feel like a rip-off.
It felt like a loving nod.
I'll give you that. I was always kind of torn on it because for the longest time, I just despised Part 2. I had to go back and rewatch it to really understand that it is a fun movie.
Yeah.
And I do think it was an homage.
Yeah.
Rather than just, oh, hey, look what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think it was genuinely trying to be respectful to something that they know is way better than them.
And I've watched it with the commentary as well.
You have?
Yeah.
And what did they say?
I mean, they said. I mean, I don't remember specifically what they said, but I also know Joe Lynch's personality, and his style is very throwback.
Okay.
Again, like I said, like with someone like Rob Zombie or Eli Roth or Adam Green, where they're all about paying homage to the classics, while also being sort of their own demented, style. Again, like the way with again, Rob Zombie does this a lot, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that beat or that character is clearly someone inspired by blank or something like that, but it feels like it's being done by a fan, not by a studio.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
It doesn't feel like it's a studio note. It feels like a fan saying, we love this.
Okay. And, it looks like all hope is lost for our two heroes. When the real hero...
You can just say protagonists.
When the real hero, Henry fucking Rollins, shows up and kicks all kinds of ass. Now, granted, he's getting his ass kicked too.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's a fair fight.
It's a fair fight because it's Henry fucking Rollins.
Yeah.
He kills the two kids.
Yeah.
And he goes to untie our two bland characters. And they're starting to get away. And the Ma and Pa see their two dead kids. And Ma just has a freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And she throws something into his shoulder. And he falls down. He stands back up. And he's about to fight. Or I think Pa shoots him with an arrow in the shoulder. And then here comes pissed off Ma. Basically throws some kind of throwing... Yeah. It's like almost like a scythe.
Yeah.
Around his waist and is about to cut him in half. And he's just, is that all you got, bitch? And of course she proceeds to rip him in half. And unfortunately Henry Rollins dies, which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
I really thought he was going to make it. So kudos. Again, they swerved me twice.
Yeah.
And, movie ends with Ma and Pa being defeated by our two bland characters. They get away.
Which one goes in the chipper? Or in the grinder?
I think it's Pa.
It's Pa that goes... Yeah, Pa's the one that goes in it. There's this... I guess it's a, like...
Wood chipper?
Yeah, it's like a wood chipper, but it's like for making pulp.
Okay.
As it's an old paper mill, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
So yeah, it's for making wood pulp. It's not just like making sawdust. It's like...
Okay.
So that's why
because there's all kinds of...
That's why it's got teeth. That's why it's got like teeth and wheels and stuff. And
it really is what they use for slushies.
It was... that was gnarly.
Is it bad that I really want a slushie and want to go to Sonic?
No, not at all. I really want to eat flesh right now, so I totally... What?
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 You are a sick man.
What?
But the movie ends with, the bland people getting away in the really cool sports car that Miss American Idol was driving.
Yeah.
And it ends with Sawtooth, he's not actually dead, picking up the little baby that we see in part 3.
Yeah.
But it was fun and not mean-spirited and had enough humor to where I could actually enjoy it on a second watch.
Yeah.
Number 2, Wrong Turn, the original.
Whoa.
Yes, the original is not number one, with good reason.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy number one. I really do. I think it's... A lot of people overlooked it, and I didn't understand why. I mean, granted, with the sequels, I get it. But I think part one is a good standalone horror film.
It's pretty solid.
You know, I think it's really capitalizing off... I'm not sure if this or Hills Have Eyes came out first.
Let me check. Meaning the remake, not
The remake, Hills Have Eyes.
Obviously, this movie
'Cause I
didn't
think
come out
this
in the
came-
70s.
I think this came out in 2003. And I think the remake of Hills Have Eyes may have been 04 or 05.
Let me check. I think you're correct. But let me,
Boom! Look at me with my knowledge.
2006, yeah.
Hills Have Eyes remake was 06. The first one?
Yep.
Wow, okay. Well, this movie came out in 2003, and our opening sequence, you see a bunch of missing posters and newspaper clippings and rumors of an inbred family. And you see pictures of babies that are deformed, which is clearly the villains.
Yeah.
And I feel like our 6 characters, well, 4 of the 6, are well thought out characters.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 3 of them.
Yeah.
You know, we have the 2 sex hounds who get killed off fairly early, and the woman's death is extremely shocking because it's literally barbed wire through the mouth.
Yeah.
And the guy you don't see his face, but he looks so massive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what catches you off guard.
Yeah.
And again, it sets it up as these are hunters. And they're hunting us.
Yeah. And I have a fun fact about this one, about Three Finger in this one. That actor plays the governor at the beginning of The Witch.
Dope. Cool.
Who banishes or excommunicates them.
Our lead character, who I think he's a doctor or studying to be a doctor.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. He has some form of medical knowledge.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah.
He crashes into the other 5 who got stranded on the road because the people tied barbed wire to a tree to where they would get flat tires.
Right.
Again, it shows that they're intelligent, not that they're dumb animals like in part 5 and 6.
Right.
And 4. But we don't, outside of the opening kills with the random hikers, and the 2 kills of the horny couple, it builds after that. Instead of just blood, sex, and death in your face 24/7, it gradually builds to the tension of where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And it all culminates in their house, where our 4 characters who are looking for a phone, and I think one of the lead characters is just, hey, I'm going to go look for a phone.
Yeah.
And they're just, okay, well, you just can't walk into someone's house, which, right.
Right.
And then, I can't remember the character's name, but the guy in the yellow shirt is just, we're in Virginia? Maybe we shouldn't just be wandering into people's homes?
Yes.
Oh, man.
We live in Tennessee. We get it.
And, it was just...
That was a good joke.
And the guy in the yellow shirt, him and one of the other girls are engaged.
Yeah.
And they actually have a very, loving relationship.
Yeah.
So, you support them. You don't want to see them die. And then you have the lead girl who's played by...
Eliza Dushku. Yeah.
I didn't know how to pronounce her last name.
I think it's Dushku.
And then our lead guy, who unfortunately he is kind of stale. But
Jeremy Sisto or
no, that's the guy in the yellow shirt.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it's Desmond something.
Is it Harrington?
It might be.
Let me double check. Yeah, Desmond Harrington.
What's the character's name? Because I thought the character's name was Desmond.
The character's name is Chris.
Okay, Chris. Well, I was partially correct. Yeah. But he's kind of stale. Yeah. But he's not horrible.
Sure.
He's not a horrible person.
Sure.
Which helps. Yeah. But the 4 of them are rummaging through the the cannibals home before they're there, and as they're pulling up, Chris pulls out like a little thing of butter.
Yeah.
A butter container, and he opens up and he clearly sees like a human heart or something that shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
And he's just, oh no. And could have been delivered better, but he knows they're in trouble. They bring in the female that they killed.
Yeah.
And Elijah Dushku and Chris are hiding underneath like a little cot, and they basically throw this woman's body down, and you see the after effects of the barbed wire in the mouth. And it's shocking, and it's just visceral.
Yeah.
And that's not even the worst of it.
No.
And you hear these three talking to each other in their own language, which I thought was very unique. Yeah. Rather than just grunting or,
kind of chirping.
Being dumb. They're actually talking in their own language.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like Nell or something like that, where they've got this weird backwoods, dialect that they just...
And the cannibals in this actually have personalities.
Sure.
It feels like One Eye, who shoots the gun, because of course, is almost like shy.
Yeah.
Three Fingers seems like the leader, the one who shoots the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And then Sawtooth is just the damn psycho who giggles and laughs at everything.
Yeah.
I'll get into that later. And the cannibals go to sleep.
Yeah.
And one of the bad CGI shots, quite frankly, is Jeremy Sisto and his fiance character are hiding in a closet, and they see Sawtooth chopping the body of their friend, and you see the zoom in on the fiance's eye. And to me, that was just a very bad CGI
that was
shot.
That was a little weird.
I was willing to forgive it though, because I see what they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
It just wasn't done well. And they go to leave after they all fall asleep, and again, we actually have like smart characters, because they go to open the spring door, and the spring is going to squeak and wake them up, and Chris holds it to where it doesn't squeak, but his hand's getting cut.
Right.
And after the other three get out, he turns and he sees Three Fingers just like staring right at him. He just bolts it.
Yeah.
And they try to come up with a plan to escape.
Yeah.
It doesn't work because Chris gets shot in the leg.
Right.
But this is what I like about these characters, is that Jeremy Sisto, his fiance, is just hysterical. It's just, I don't want to be here. We're all going to die. And he's just, we're going to get out of here. We're going to get married, and we're never going to the woods again. Yeah. It's just, you don't want anything bad to happen.
Sure.
And I didn't feel that for any other character in this franchise.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get there. His death just makes you depressed. Mm-hmm. It's sad, but it's not mean-spirited. Yeah. And the fact that his fiance calling out for him is what sets off the Three Finger finding where he is. Yeah. And that, to me, that's one of the best shots in the movie, is when it cuts to Three Finger just like hearing her scream to find him. Mm-hmm. And after he shoots him with the arrows 3 times. Yeah. And you see the cannibals go to his body and just drag him off. It's not his, let's just go ahead and chop him into pieces now, like we get in the sequels. Yeah. And when the last 3 are in the trees, that's a very tense scene. Mm-hmm. Especially once Sawtooth climbs up there, and his whole giggling and facial expressions toward Elijah Dushku is unnerving. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's a reason why this franchise revolved around that one character. Mm-hmm. Was because I can't remember who plays him, but he did a great job. Mm-hmm. And the fiance's death is maybe one of the most iconic shots in the movie. Yeah. Sawtooth rising up behind her and axing her in the mouth, and her entire body falls, and you see the pupil
Yeah.
Bad CGI shot. The CGI in it was bad, but I liked the shot.
Yeah.
And, movie ends with, Elijah Dushku and Chris overcoming them and, leaving victorious after thinking they're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a post-credit scene of Sawtooth is still alive, and he is all axe to the cop, and you just hear him laugh. It was a good movie, but it's not better than the number one, which is the remake, which came out last year.
Last year, yeah, it was in my top 10 horror movies of 2021.
Matthew Modine is in this.
Watch my top 10 horror movies of 2021, by the way.
Matthew Modine is in this.
It is great.
And he's great. This movie, it's a remake, and I think it does everything right.
Yeah, because it literally, again, it remakes just about everything.
Yeah, it takes out the incest cannibals. They're not incest.
Yeah,
Thank God.
It's just it's a cult, or it's this like self-sufficient medieval society.
I think they formed around the Civil War time.
Something like that. But yeah, it's almost Viking-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally just took, okay, you got these college students hiking the Appalachian Trail, they take a wrong turn. That's like the only similarity between.
And even the college students don't feel bland.
Right.
You see growth.
Yeah.
And development in the characters. And even the asshole character doesn't necessarily feel like an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's a bit of a dick to the locals.
Mm-hmm.
But the situation he's in and the decisions he makes,
yeah,
it almost feels as though you're let down by him failing and making the wrong choices versus just, oh, I knew he was going to do that because he's a prick.
Yeah, he's not a cartoon dickhead. He's a more realistic dickhead. And
I felt so bad when his girlfriend falls into that pit.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, discussed earlier, don't leave me, I'll never leave you again. And he's standing over the pit looking down at her, and she's begging him not to go. And it's just, it's heartbreaking because he leaves.
Yeah.
But what more can he do for her?
Right. It's like, what else is he supposed to do?
And, he gets, captured, and his friends spring him out, and then he just goes ballistic. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, who wouldn't in that situation after being tied up like you're about to be thrown over a roast?
Yeah.
And I like the cult's looks. I like how they use like skull mask.
Yeah, I like the mossy, like they almost look like camouflage, like sniper camo.
Yeah.
Are they called ghillie suits or something like that?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that and then the animal skulls.
The lead character, it's like the story's being told in two different parts.
Yeah.
Or it starts off with Matthew Modine looking for his daughter, and then you get everything that happens with her, and then we cut back to
And I normally hate that, starts off 2 weeks early. Like, I normally hate stuff like that, but it worked here.
It did, and I think it worked because it didn't overcomplicate itself. Mm-hmm. It knew what it was. It knew what story it was trying to tell.
Yeah.
And I think Jennifer's a really good character.
Yeah. I also really, I can't remember the character's name, but like the local that like is the bitter old get out of town with your fancy
You would think he's a stupid hick.
Yeah, but it
not
turns
think
out
of anything else. But he kind of saves the day.
Yeah,
near the end.
you find
and he
out
even tells her, "Hey, you were right. I actually was sick."
Yeah, and it was like this. You realize, oh, for one, he's clearly got some PTSD from from previous encounters with the Foundation, which is what the cult is called, is the Foundation. But they add a little bit more. They make him more than just a crazy Ralph.
Yes, which works.
Yeah.
And the whole... I like how it all seems like a big misunderstanding. Because they don't harm them until the character Adam, the dickhead, kills one of them. And then it's just, okay, well, all bets are off. And, we're going to...
You kill one of ours, we kill all of you, basically.
Basically, yes. And the thing is that the cult leader does try to give them a chance by letting Jennifer speak for them, and all she had to do was basically condemn Adam to die, and the others would be set free. But she won't sell him out, and he totally thought she was.
Snitches get stitches.
And in this case, she should have snitched.
Yeah.
But she doesn't snitch. He basically calls her a liar, and you're not supposed to lie. And he kills Adam the same way he killed one of theirs, which is with a blunt stick.
Yeah.
That is a gnarly death.
Still, the best one to me, though, was the log. That skull crush.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Looked so fucking good. I mean, that effect was so... It was just
sudden.
Yeah, it was sudden, and you felt every crunch.
And the after effect on it was really well.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of the aftermath of Sartain's.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
because it was the fact that it looked like the way a skull would break. Like, it looked like the way bone would break.
Okay.
It didn't look like it was plastic or something like that, or it didn't look like it was shattered glass or whatever. It looked like it was in, like, shards, but not...
perfect little shards that spread all over the place. It was just crunch shards that...
Yeah, it
some
looked
were
like
here,
thin bone being broke, snapped.
The log crush was good.
That was just...
Man,
yeah.
This movie just... It breathed life into this god-awful franchise.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the trailers for it, and I was thinking, oh, so they got 1 star, Matthew Modine, and, I mean, it looks fine, but I don't think it's going to be anything different.
Yeah.
And boy, was I completely wrong, and so happy to be wrong.
Yeah, because this is a great movie.
It really is.
This is the first Wrong Turn movie to be a great movie.
Agreed, and that's why it's number 1 for me. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's at number 1
It
for
is.
you.
It is. Spoiler alert. It's number 1 for me, too. Again, like I said, it was in my top 10 horror movies of the year last year. So.
And I like how Jennifer's boyfriend wants to help build a society where there's no hate, basically.
Yeah.
And him and Jennifer are the only two who basically they have to become members of this cult.
He's black, by the way. That is a big, and so
and that's a big
obviously
deal.
When he first arrives in the small town in Virginia, obviously he gets some dirty looks because it is rural Virginia.
And there's also 2 gay men, so that doesn't help.
Right. It made me think, okay, did you ever see the 2014-2015 Blair Witch movie that Adam Wingard made?
Yes.
I like that one. I feel like that one gets too much hate.
I didn't like it.
But when they're in the guy's house and the guy has a Confederate flag and the black guy just like at the camera just kind of has this like, oh boy, like he did it was so reminiscent of that. I mean, it wasn't funny, but him just kind of looking around, seeing the reactions, it had that same energy to me of that just, oh shit.
And Jennifer and her boyfriend, and one of the gay guys, they're the last 3, and since they lied, they're all condemned to, I can't remember how he puts it. I think it's no sight.
Yeah, or something like that. But yeah, the gay man gets his eyes gouged out.
Yes, or burned out.
Burned out. That's right. Yeah, they were burned out.
good grief.
This is kind of the first and only time we see any sort of actual hints of cannibalism.
That's right, because they burn his eyes out and they throw him into this darkness, and what is it that they feed him exactly? Is it parts of the dead people?
Yeah, I think they're all just sort of eating each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Something like that, to survive. Something like that.
I'd have to go back and rewatch it.
I have to watch it again. I have to watch it again.
Which I will watch.
Oh,
again.
absolutely.
It's really good.
Absolutely.
But they do that to the gay guy first.
Yeah.
And then Jennifer's boyfriend's up next. And that's when she's just, well, why don't we join you?
Yeah.
And
she basically offers herself up to be one of the cult leader's wives. And
her boyfriend is some kind of architect, and he can help them be more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So they both have uses, and fast forward in time, and Matthew Modine, who's Jennifer's father, is looking for her. And here's what to me kind of sets off this cult is not nearly as innocent as they make themselves out to be.
Yeah.
Is they capture Matthew Modine, and he's just, I want my daughter back. And the cult leader is just, yeah, he came into our territory. There's no need for a trial. He's guilty.
Yeah.
So and plus, just talking to the town folk, this apparently happens to strangers who come through all the time.
Yeah.
So
they are not this idyllic brotherhood
that doesn't, who stay out of the way, who doesn't hurt innocent people. I guarantee they were going to kill Adam instead of, oh, we were just taking him back to the border, taking him back to safety.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I do think
they were probably abducting him to make him part of their society.
Probably. I do think it's I do think there's a little bit of truth in what he was saying. It was a misunderstanding. I do think it's as long as you don't cross. If you don't cross our borders, we won't hurt you. But if you cross our borders, you're gonna die or you're gonna join.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't because Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a parody of the sort of backwoods hick slasher trope. And it is that whole thing about it's literally just a series of misunderstandings.
I love that movie.
That movie is so funny. Alan Tudyk.
How's he even walking right now, Tucker?
Oh, hallelujah. Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine are so good in that movie. I never thought I'd say this. I'm so glad I'm not hung like a bear.
Why don't we just tell them the truth? They're killing themselves. You realize how much of an idiot he'd have to be to believe that? And then later in the movie,
right?
You must think I'm some kind of idiot to believe that. It's such a fun movie.
But so it's almost like that, but played for serious drama, and it works.
It does, and I think a lot of it has to do with the Foundation is a very large threat to the community.
Yeah.
And
it's not this one family living in the woods.
Yeah, it's an entire community that lives in the woods.
And the surrounding areas, they know about it. And it's almost like their dark secret where they're just kind of it's almost like Pennywise in the beginning of it, where it's like
everyone knows but no one talks about it.
Yeah, no one talks about it because it's like, well, if Pennywise takes you, then that's it. You're done.
Because I believe it's the main person that Matthew Modine talks to, I think it's the bartender, and he's like, she ain't missing, she's dead.
Yeah,
because people who go up there, they don't come back.
Yeah,
which was a really good line. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It's so good.
Yeah, the acting by just the townies is great,
and usually those kind of roles are just so one-dimensional and extremely stereotypical and forgettable.
Yeah. Which is why I love the old man.
Yeah, right? Because they turn it around on its head.
Yeah.
No, there's more to this.
He's not just Crazy Ralph.
This is honestly the one time I would like to see a follow-up.
Exactly.
Because I want to know the rest of what happens. And
I want to see, remnants of the Foundation, it turns into, a survivalist...
what happens to the boyfriend? Because he stays.
Yeah.
Matthew Modine, his daughter basically tries to save him, and she gets the boyfriend. It's just, now's the time to leave. And the boyfriend's just, How come no other time was time to leave?
Yeah.
And she urges him to go, and he's just, I can't. These
Yeah.
people need me. This is what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
He's been brainwashed.
Yeah, but
He's
it's
completely
'cause
brainwashed.
It's like the fact that this is the first time he's never experienced racism in any like group setting. It's like that's all he needed.
Yes. But again,
And they suckered him in with that one promise, and they found his vulnerability, or they found his sort of one want.
And they fulfilled it.
Yeah, they fulfilled it
In
and
a
were able
very
to,
twisting way, because he belongs to them now.
Right.
And Jennifer, she basically just goes, before she goes full Rambo, there's she goes to her new husband, the cult leader.
Yeah.
And even he just, it almost, like, I think he says to her, you're not as strong as you think you are.
Yeah.
It's like he sees through her almost.
Mm-hmm.
But she, puts on
Yeah.
the best act she can to, she does what she has to do to survive.
Yeah.
And it's just dark.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could say that scene is mean-spirited, but it doesn't end on that note.
And it feels like there's weight to it.
Yes.
It doesn't just feel like, let's just show you the nastiest things we can think of just to shock you.
Yes, we're not going to show him raping her, because it's not. She willingly consents, even though she doesn't necessarily want to. She knows she has to.
She's not being pinned down.
Yeah, she's not being
She's
pinned
being
down.
manipulated.
That's a better way to put it.
Which is still predatory, but it's like, it's not...
Well, he thinks he's manipulating her.
Right.
Because turns out she's always wanted to escape, and when her dad shows up, that was, okay, it's time to fucking go.
Right.
And she goes full fucking Rambo on the foundation and kicks all kinds of ass. Even the dad's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And she's just, this is what I had to do to survive up here.
Yeah. I would love to see if they do a sequel, like little remnants of the foundation, like little camps or something. And maybe they are sort of, again, they're hunting people. Again, almost like it's picking up where the first movie began. Except they're not, like, inbred cannibals. Yeah. It's more like they're just... I mean, maybe they are eating them now, but they're not these mutant, they're not these inbred mutant people.
That's invulnerable to pain.
Right. They are a survivalist cult. And maybe
they just ravaged the entire town at that point. It left so many intriguing things, and for me, the part where they kind of messed up at, for me, is the ending.
They did too many fake outs.
Too many fake outs, and basically Jennifer playing the scenario out in her head where everyone dies except her.
Yeah,
because her stepmom and her siblings get killed. Because Matthew Modine's not there; he's off doing something else.
Yeah.
But the cult leader basically finds her somehow in, where she lives, and it's just, you're coming back with us, and you know what's going to happen to you. Mm-hmm. Her eyes are going to get burnt out and all that stuff, because he did kill her daughter.
Right.
And, he tells her it's either you or your family, and she goes back with him, and it almost feels like that ending of Wrong Turn 5.
Yeah.
Of just, damn. Mean-spirited bullshit. Where's Matthew Modine? I need him to come and save the day. And, credits start rolling. Mm-hmm. You think it's fucking over. And then you see that van crash. And you see Jennifer come out, blood, getting one of the cult leaders down and killing him. And then the little girl who she was, like, friends with holds her hand and they just walk away. You don't see the cult leader, though.
Yeah.
Now... if they do a sequel, then yes, then okay, maybe he lived. But maybe she shot him in the head first.
Yeah. We don't see a body, so it leaves room, but who knows?
And I will say, and I know me and you talked about this, I love that they poke fun at the rest of this franchise.
With that one line.
After Jennifer's back to her normal life, her and Matthew Modine are, hey, it's a movie night, your brothers are picking. What are they picking? I think some scary movie about inbred cannibals. Again?
Yeah, that was like so. I mean, it was on the nose, but it wasn't unwelcome. It was almost the franchise saying like, we know that's why we did this. Like it was
exactly, and I feel as though I for once want to see where it goes.
Yeah,
I really hope it gets a sequel. I hope they continue with the foundation story.
Yeah, I like this.
Maybe it's how it becomes what it was in part 1, but if it has nothing to do with any of that, I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah.
So to recap, part number 7, Wrong Turn 6. Number 6, Wrong Turn 4. Number 5, Wrong Turn 5. Number 4, Wrong Turn 3. Number 3, Wrong Turn 2. Number 2, Wrong Turn the original. And number 1, by far, by a multiple miles, Wrong Turn the remake. Took you long enough to do something right. And that is my summary and list of Wrong Turn. I'm so glad it's over.
And now we begin again.
I gotta take another one because I know what's coming.
Well, yeah, once again...
You sure you don't want to drink?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, once again, number 7 is Wrong Turn 6, Last Resort. What else can we say? It's just fucking bad.
It's not even the basic bitch answer.
No, like at this point, it's like, it's so... It's kind of like with Saw 3D, where it's like, there really is no contest.
No. Ugh.
Like, personal preferences be damned, there is no contest. Like, we have different personal preferences that lead us to have differing least favorite Texas Chainsaw movies. But, like...
Or where we want to put Halloween 6.
Exactly. But it's like... But in this case, it's like, there's just no fucking contest. It's so bad. Again, I guess, like I said, there is... I can't give this movie any favorable points. The only thing I can say that, I guess, isn't even a point in its favor. It's more just like, the scenery's nice. Like, it's like, the resort, the actual, like, resort looks cool.
Which, again, not a resort. It's a fancy hotel, but whatever.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. Like, just, it's like, it's, you know, good scenery. Good sets. You know, whatever.
I could have swore you just said good sets.
I know. I realized as soon as I said it, the way I had my fist on here is good sets. Like, I realized the way I had my fist here was, yeah.
I mean, it might have been that one lady was getting off on everything. I'm pretty sure she even like takes a peek at another couple having sex, and she's like, she's
constantly masturbating. I mean, it's insane.
She's literally the female version of a peeping Tom.
She really is. I mean, but in like it, yeah, just
in not a fun way.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Yeah, she's like, yeah. I mean, just not much else to say. My number 6 is number 5.
Okay.
Again, just that ending and just the wanton cruelty, like. None of it felt like there was a payoff. You know, again, and I've even said this.
Can I get a hand?
Yeah, I mean, like, and the way Doug Bradley delivers his lines, he sells them as bad as they are.
And they are bad.
Yeah. Like, and I even said this, and I know I feel this way more so than you do, but, like, again, bringing it back to the Firefly family in... Rob Zombie's films. With them, what they do is horrible. You know, they're doing terrible, terrible things. But part of me enjoys them. Not literally like or sympathize or whatever. But there's something interesting and oddly almost fun about their dynamic with each other.
Okay.
That I think they wanted to happen with with Sawtooth, Three Finger, but just didn't work. Like, they just weren't entertaining.
No.
Because, like, Captain Spaulding, Otis Driftwood
and the thing
are
is
entertaining characters. They're awful people.
Well, that's the thing, is that they're actual characters.
Right.
Whereas One Eye, Sawtooth, and Three Finger, they're not really characters. They're just
kind of
giggly idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least, by this point.
Right. Yeah.
And the guy who played Sawtooth in Part 1 did so good that literally every other depiction of Sawtooth, everyone is trying to mimic that.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
He set the stage. This is where I know will be a little bit differing, but my number 5 is Wrong Turn 3.
Okay.
This one, yeah, like you were saying, this was a just clear indicator of, oh shit, is this really where we're going now? Because again, even with Wrong Turn 2, it felt self-aware in its excess. And it felt like
it had that humor to balance.
Exactly. Whereas with this one, this was when it felt lazy. It felt like we don't know what else to do. Look, tits.
Well, I think even the beginning of the movie, they spring a trap.
Yeah.
And it cuts a guy into 3 pieces, and the effect is awful.
Yeah, because that becomes the 3.
Yeah.
Which again, I tend to like stuff like where it does like the title card gag.
But it just looked bad.
Right. Like Scary Movie 4. I love the way they did that with Dr. Phil, where he falls, and he like falls in the shape, like where he's like the shape of a 4. I'm like, that was kind of funny. Or like in the 3rd Scary Movie, where it zooms in on Pamela Anderson's boobs and then rotates it into a 3. Like it's stupid, but it was, but with those, I mean, those are dumb comedies. This one, it just all felt lazy. It didn't feel like there was any sort of tongue-in-cheek side to the excess in this. Like, we've talked about, the show Spartacus, like, is so excessive in everything, in the violence and the sex. But it feels like they know it's excessive. And
I love that show.
I do too. But it feels like it's aware of there's an inherent camp to it, that it's like, let's go for it.
And it's easier to tell a story and build characters over a 10-episode season arc.
Right.
And so I'm usually not for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you actually have characters who are developing and people who I can like eventually support, or people I love, or people I love to hate, I can get into it.
Yeah.
And that's why I like Spartacus so much. But it's just all excess and no character with Wrong
Spartacus
Turn 3.
also manages to be legitimately erotic.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Like it definitely feel like there is a sensuality to that show that this movie doesn't have.
Or Part 6, really.
Well, yeah.
Because there's not a whole lot of sex in Part 3. I don't think there is any, quite frankly.
No, this is the one that opens with the just him talking about how much he loves her tits. You remember that?
Yeah.
That opens with that, like, where it's like all just him describing, and I'm not normally like, and I'm only describing it that crudely because that's the way it's described in this movie.
It's very much frat boy.
It is very
talk.
frat boy. That's why I said that's why I was saying it feels like a middle schooler trying to write like a sex comedy.
Yeah, and he was I've completely forgot about that.
It was just
Hey, he was really doing his best to compliment her tits until Sawfinger cut him off.
Yeah, that's I'll give you that one.
Yeah, because he got cut into 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the jokes. Still, that joke was still better than that entire movie.
Yeah, that joke was funnier and smarter than anything in this entire movie.
Yeah, that beginning scene definitely felt like a middle school.
And that's what I mean by it was like
tits.
Yeah, Like that, and that's what I mean. Is it's like, it's from the opening scene. You're like, oh no.
Well, luckily that was as far as it got in part 3.
Yeah.
And then part 4, 5, and 6 was just, yeah, let's have more of that.
Yeah, like that's all that we can think to do.
Oh, so bad.
But my number 4 actually is part 4. And here's the reason why I have it as high up as it is. Because it's not good. I would never try to claim that it's good. 4.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would never try to claim that 4 is good. The reason why I have it higher than 5 and 3 is because I like the setting in the, asylum. I think it's a great set. I think the atmosphere is actually not half bad. I don't hate the opening. The thing with the doctor with the electroshock, that was a little bit like this belongs in a different movie. And same with the ripping the guy apart. But I actually do think that was a pretty decent effect. And
that's where all the effects went.
Right, yeah, to the tearing the doctor apart. It was like, this belongs in a different movie, but I can't act like I don't like this.
Okay.
Like it kind of works. And then, again, the ending really did catch me off guard. Like that final kill. As bad as the obviously dubbed in "Oh no" was, there was that sense of so close. Like, this to me is...
I don't know, I guess for me, because it was a prequel, I already knew everyone was going to die, so I was just waiting for it.
I knew they were I knew that the villains were going to survive. I didn't know if everyone was going to die, per se.
Okay.
But I also think I saw these out of order anyway. So, I might not have even known this was a prequel, per se.
That's fair.
I didn't
and
see
honestly,
this one first or anything.
This movie could have been over in 5 minutes if they just wouldn't play with their food.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't it have been over in 5 minutes?
Didn't your mother ever tell you not to play with your food?
Don't do it. Don't bring good things into this world.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
And I'm sure that's what the one guy was thinking when the lady was all, "Oh, let's not kill them because we're good people and they're bad guys."
Right.
Sure, they just fondued our friend, but it's okay because we're good guys.
Yeah.
Hate it. It sucks.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Just that, and I like the timing of the slump off the way the snowmobile keeps going before it kind of stalls out, and just the slump. Just, it was like, it adds that, extra beat of just fatalism. And I feel like it kind of succeeded in what 5 was trying to do, but just like totally dropped the ball on, which is just that, they were so close. Whereas 5 just felt like, let's just make this needlessly cruel.
They were never close.
No. Yeah. Whereas with this one, it was like... But again, those are minor... I hate to even call them redeeming qualities, because they don't redeem the movie whatsoever.
No, it's just
things that I hate, things that make me hate it less. Things that you hate
less compared to the others. And really, that's the thing with these movies, is that you can almost put them, or at least with these 4, you could really put them in any order of your preference, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with you.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. Number 6 has to be your last place.
Right, but
the other 3, you can really just, they're interchangeable.
They really are.
It's just a matter of your own taste and your own preference.
Yeah. My number 3 is the first one.
Okay.
And I know I'm in that camp that does like 2 more than 1, but this is why, because every point you made is 100% valid. I think
Go ahead.
Honestly, again, other than Jeremy Sisto, I didn't think these characters were any more fleshed out than the characters in 2. But I also didn't think the characters in 2 were as bland as you did.
Okay.
But
I'll have to go back and rewatch it to see if I can change my opinion on it.
It's with this one, it was very fine. I think is how it put it. It was better than, it was better than, okay. I wouldn't call it great. I'd say this was very.
It's better than Cry Wolf, but not as good as Saw.
Yeah, good way of putting it. It's like, for a movie of that era.
There's a mediocre horror film for you right there.
Jesus Christ, yes. But yeah, I think it's very, decent.
Okay,
It's good. To quote the movie History of the World Part 1, nice. Not thrilling, but nice. And that's how I describe Wrong Turn 1, and to an extent Wrong Turn 2. But yeah, with Wrong Turn 1, really this just comes down to why I like 2 a little bit more.
Okay.
And that's because I actually do kind of like some of those characters. I mean, obviously, Henry Rollins is just
the best.
Yeah, I mean, in
Can you imagine if Henry Rollins was the main protagonist for Part 1? Instead of Chris,
yeah,
we get Henry Rollins.
Right. As Sam told Frodo, when asked about what he thinks of elves, I think elves are sort of above our likes and dislikes. And to me, Henry Rollins in this movie, it's like, it doesn't matter whether we don't have to like him or dislike him. He's great. Like, whether we like him or not doesn't change the fact that he's so good. But I guess with some of I like the whole Band of Misfits aspect to it. I like the fact that these are
in Part 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because with the first one.
So are we talking about your number 2 slot, or are we still on number 3?
I'm just explaining why I like 2 a little bit more than 1.
Okay.
Because that's really all their placement comes down to. I like that whole theme of these are all people who are from birth were categorized incorrectly. At least certainly for the athlete and then the emo girl.
Fun fact, the person who plays the emo girl, do you know what else she was in?
I know it, as I remember reading it before.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake has Pepper.
That's right. But
turns out she does a lot of horror movie stuff, so good on you.
Yeah. But I, as one who, obviously has struggled with my own mental health and stuff like that, and have a lot of friends that have as well. I liked that about it. It didn't feel insincere. It didn't feel particularly layered.
Okay, you bringing that up actually just reminded me of a scene from that movie, from Part 2, and I believe it's the athlete and her. They're having a conversation, and he points out how she's been cutting herself, and because she's wearing sleeves, and he points it out, and she's just, how did you know? And he mentioned something about how he did something, that he would do something similar to himself, because he was mad at himself for getting hurt and being no longer able to play.
Yeah, and
that I thought was a pretty touching scene between 2 characters that are relatively bland.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the character was like that. The character felt bland, but it didn't feel insincere.
I'll give you that.
It didn't feel like, let's give her a trait, or hey, the kids,
we have to give them something in common, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Versus no, it actually makes sense because he, someone who has worked their entire lives for a specific goal, and to have it snatched away and you can never do it again. I can only imagine the pain that they would feel. It
wasn't the Cabin in the Woods checklist.
There we go.
Of characters. It wasn't just, this one should be this one should be that. It felt like, they felt like characters. They didn't feel necessarily like real people, but they felt, the parts of, the traits they did have did feel real.
Okay.
Even if there weren't enough.
All right.
And again, I really love that scene, and I think they're sort of, odd friendship. I kind of like that. And
I
again,
like that it kind of stays a friendship versus being a forced romance.
Yeah, I like that about it. It was almost like they were trying to do the Dream Warriors, but just didn't quite have the magic there.
Dream Warriors.
Right.
In the woods.
Yeah, exactly. So it was I like that whole,
Does that make Sawtooth Freddy?
Well, his father is Pinhead, so
Yeah.
Anyway, but
These are questions I ask myself when I'm
Right.
clearly starting to feel a buzz coming on.
right. But the
I hate this franchise.
but I've always liked that theme of just this sort of little ragtag band of misfits. I've always just kind of liked that vibe. What?
No, like my buzz just kicked in.
Oh.
So I'm cutting myself off because I am a responsible drinker.
Yeah.
Sorry, I laugh at everything when I.
Oh,
feel
you're fine.
buzzed.
You're fine. But yeah, I like.
hate this franchise.
But yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like that sort of the outcasts trying to the outcasts bonding over being outcasts. I kind of like that.
Even if it's done badly, it's still something better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's done badly. It's just done. It's just kind of hollow.
You even get a nice father-son moment too. When Boy gets the double kill
Right.
and the blood's pouring down, and he's like, "Wah."
Yeah.
And then Paul is just,
yeah. But yeah, even though it was paper thin, I do think those moments like that. I do appreciate those moments.
all right.
And again, I like the fact that this one is so high energy, and I like the way it's sort of. It's definitely way better at parodying reality TV than Halloween Resurrection was.
I mean, to be fair, it's not that hard
It's
to
not-
be
it's-
better than that.
It's not a high bar, but I mean, like, it feels like it actually knows how to parody it rather than just acknowledging it exists. Because in this case, it's like, let's take it way farther as opposed to a mishap led it to being real. It's in this case, it's like, no, we respect people this little. We're going to actually make it real because that's the level of exploitation reality TV is willing to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, my number one is also the remake. It's just really damn good. It really is. Matthew Modine. It was so cool to see an actor like him in a movie like this because he's not necessarily washed up. He's past his prime, sure, and he's done some crap, but.
And to be fair, what actor hasn't done
Right.
crap at some point in their career?
Right.
I mean, Morgan Freeman has Wanted.
Yeah. Well, and Dreamcatchers.
Oh, I forgot about that
What
one.
about the shit weasels?
Oh, I forgot about that one. We'll do an episode over Stephen King at some point.
Oh, I'm sure. Because
Oh,
boy, do those
God.
boy, do those run the gamut of being fantastic and fuck awful.
Not nearly as bad as Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
Would
yeah.
you?
There has.
All right, Will.
Yeah.
The ultimate question: would you rather watch Wrong Turn 6 or Dreamcatcher?
I mean, yeah, Dreamcatchers
Yeah.
is. I never said Dreamcatchers. I'm saying that. I'm trying to run through in my head all the Stephen King adaptations I've seen. I don't think any of them are as bad as Wrong Turn 6.
I'd rather watch Tim Curry laugh as Pennywise on loop. Give me that for an hour and a half versus Last Resort.
Matthew Modine is awesome in this movie. Like, I love Full Metal Jacket, and he just absolutely fucking kills it in this movie. It really felt like... It didn't feel like we were getting a phoned in... Like the way half of Bruce Willis's movies are now, where it's like they have him for a day, so they shoot his scenes and then splice it into the rest of the movie. And he's clearly half-assing it. Like, this felt like Matthew Modine was all in. You know,
I feel as though all the performances in this movie are very honest.
Oh, absolutely.
And very much they're doing their best to make a good, scary movie. Versus just, I'm trying to make $5.
Right.
Because that's how much Last Resort is worth. I hate that movie.
Putting it a little high.
I'm sorry. 5 cents.
You'd have to pay me $5. It's like, I remember seeing one time, I don't think it was at the same store, but I remember one time I saw it was like a double feature of, I think it was The Mask and Son of the Mask on DVD for like $5, like a double pack for $5. And then somewhere else I saw The Mask by itself for $10. I'm like, oh, they're paying you $5 to please take Son of the Mask.
I think I'll just go ahead and spend the 10.
Yeah. I don't want this in my house. Please keep this away from me.
Man, and anytime I see like a wrong turn, speaking of that, anytime I see a wrong turn pack, it's never 1 or 2. It's always 4, 5, and 6.
It always
put together.
is.
Always.
Or 3, 4, 5, and 6. If it's a 4-pack, it's 3, 4, 5, and 6.
3, 4, 5, or 6. It's never the first 2 because they know those are the only 2 worth watching up until the remake.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh!
Yeah.
Anytime I go to McKay's, I won't even look for wrong turn.
Yeah.
It's no point.
I'll say it was like, because I have the Blu-rays of the remake and 2.
Dope.
I think the first one's probably been put on Blu-ray. I haven't checked, but
if the second one is, I imagine
I would
the
think
first
so.
one would be.
Although the second one was the one that really got the cult following.
True, and a lot of people felt that the first one was just dull and too serious, and then part 2 came out, and then it got.
I do think part 2 was.
Popular.
I do think 2 was faster paced and more fun, but I don't think it's necessarily that the first one was dull.
Well, from what that was just a lot of the complaints I would hear.
I wouldn't find it dull, but I do think 2 is more energized.
It felt very 2000s.
That is very true. That is very true.
One way.
That is very true.
The original feels very 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is 100% true. As does the second one, honestly. But whatever. I still like them.
All right. Well, go ahead and recap your list before I drown myself.
So number 7 is Wrong Turn 6, Last Resort. Number 6, Wrong Turn 5, Bad Blood. Or no, it's Bloodlines.
Bloodlines. Oh, okay.
It's saying Bad Blood. It's Bloodlines.
Like it matters.
Right. Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. Is number 5. Number 4 is Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. Number 3 is Wrong Turn, the original. Number 2 is Wrong Turn 2, Dead End. And number 1 is Wrong Turn 2021.
One final swig to this piece of crap.
And one for the homies who aren't with us anymore.
All right, so that is Wrong Turn. Now,
do you feel cleansed?
I'm just glad it's over. And so, the last time we talked about we weren't sure what we were going to do for the next episode. We had off camera, we decided what that was going to be. Do you want to go ahead and make that announcement?
Yes. So we decided
big mystery. Wrong Turn was not the mystery.
Yeah. So we decided in order to catch up on what we wanted to do next, let's go and do Wrong Turn. So we're going to be talking about one of my favorite little horror formats, horror anthology films. I've always loved this format. Creepshow was one of my like top 5 favorite horror movies. You know, I was as well as like TV shows. Like I adore Tales from the Crypt. I adore The Twilight Zone. But I think there's so many great horror anthology movies, like obviously like Creepshow or Trick or Treat or Twilight Zone the movie, or Dead of Night. Going back, if you want to go back to one of the first ones. I just think there are a lot of really good ones, and I'd love to talk about that because I think that format works really, really well.
And this is one of the formats that I'm not 100% familiar with, which is why we didn't cover it this time around,
Right.
because I wanted to be able to take the time and be able to watch at least 4 or 5 of these, gain a little bit of knowledge so I can come into it with somewhat decency of knowing what I'm talking about, which is why we shoehorned in Wrong Turn, because no one gives a fuck about Wrong Turn.
Really? Because I get the impression you care a lot.
I just hate it so much.
Oh, I know. But that's caring.
I guess that is caring. I'm sorry. I had to binge watch these again, and it was a lot to suffer through.
I never said I don't sympathize.
So, not that it doesn't have its fans, but this is by far the worst franchise that we've covered. One of the worst franchises, period. With a few highlights here and there, I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But man, it just leaves such a 4, 5, and 6 especially.
Just
You can throw in 3 in there too. Leaves such a bad taste in your mouth.
yeah.
And to have that much trash in a row, it's a hard pill to swallow. So yes, I'm glad it's over. I hated I had to go back and rewatch a lot of that garbage, but it's over.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Leatherface than this.
So would I, but I don't hate Leatherface as much as you do.
That is true.
But
I think I found a new one.
Wrong Turn 6. Wrong Turn 6 is one we can both agree is like holy fucking shit bad.
At least we can agree.
Like, there are things about Leatherface and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 that I will stick up for, but like for me to go, this is worse than Texas Chainsaw Next Generation. Like for me to say it's worse than that one. Yeah, this is...
You sit the fuck down.
Because that would...
I feel like that's every horror franchise talking to Wrong Turn anytime they come out with a new sequel.
Fuck down. Wrong Turn is the, like, annoying inbred child of the horror genre. Well, of the 2000s horror.
Ooh. And really, it's one of the only franchises to be born in the 2000s that still has life. A lot of the 2000s horror died off real quick.
Yeah.
So at least it has longevity.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, and 4, 5, and 6 didn't happen until the 2010s.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
But either
what a
way,
bad decade for horror. 2010s, at least until near the end.
I was about to say until like 20.
Halfway through, I would say
2010
through 2015 was pretty bad.
I was because like 20. I would say because 2016 was when we started getting.
Is that when the Babadook came out? Because I feel like that's when horror
Babadook
started.
was 2014.
2014. Okay.
But It Follows was 2015, and then 2016 is when we got The Witch, Don't Breathe, Green Room. But.
And I'm sure at some point we'll talk about the different eras of horror.
Yeah.
And all that fun stuff. But
all that said, I'm Will Lastly.
I'm Alex Maynard.
And until next time, be right back!
I need some water. Get out of my house.
And yes, I will be keeping that entire
Please
empty
do.
silence.
Do the cut right after I say get out of my
I will. That's what I plan on doing.
No, this is not like The Thing, Will.